Welcome back, Holistic Soul Sisters. It's me, Mandy Rose, your relational astrologer. Today's video, we're talking all about Mercury's retrograde happening from the zodiac sign of Libra back into the zodiac sign of Virgo. So much to cover with this one. I'm going to break it down, keep it simple, and let you know what the energy is going to be of this astro weather, what you can anticipate, what you can expect, and of course, how you can prepare. And don't forget, at the end of all of my retrograde videos, I give you the do's and don'ts of what you should and shouldn't be doing during this retrograde season. Overlying theme of this Mercury retrograde in Libra back into Virgo is all about relationships. Renegotiating our relationships, creating more boundaries around relationships, being very clear about our needs, down to the details, down to the facts, very Virgo. We're going to have to really find the balance that makes every person happy. And we're going to have to communicate that to other people. So very relationship focused, communication focused, editing, organizing, being very practical. So this may be a little bit uncomfortable. We're going to talk so much more about that in this video, but know that by the end of this Mercury retrograde, the people that you have not edited out of your life, you will be able to communicate Mercury better with them in a way that creates harmony, fairness, and balance, Libra, in your life. So something to look forward to, but let's get into the nitty-gritty and talk more about the basics of this Mercury retrograde and then dive into the specific dates you're going to want to mark on your calendar and events you want to pay attention to. So let's dive right in. Like always, we got to start out with the basics. This Mercury retrograde will be kicking off on September 9th, moving all the way through until October 2nd. Mercury will be starting his retrograde in the zodiac sign of Libra at 8 degrees of Libra and moving backwards into the zodiac sign of Virgo, ending up at 24 degrees of Virgo. So you're going to want to go ahead, open your birth chart, check to see if you have any planets between 24 degrees of Virgo all the way to 8 degrees of Libra. This is where Mercury is going to be retrograding through. Well, in order to understand this, first we have to understand who is Mercury, right? Who is Mercury as a life coach to us? Quick refresher. Mercury is the planet of communication. He is the messenger. He loves to gather information and then take that information and process it and then communicate it back out into the world. So Mercury rules communication. He rules technology because oftentimes we use technology to communicate. This also includes social media, our cell phones, our computers, all those forms of technology, printers, that kind of stuff. Mercury also rules travel, right? In order to communicate, sometimes we have to travel from point A to point B. So Mercury rules transportation. And lastly, Mercury rules over our networks, groups of people that we communicate and socialize with. These are the areas of life that can get a little wonky during a Mercury retrograde. Mercury retrogrades happen 3 to 4 times a year. Mercury's retrogrades last only 3 weeks. So even if they can be a little annoying, they're very short and they're meant to be moments of pause, of rest, and to teach us that sometimes in order to move forward, we have to take a step back. So Mercury retrogrades, they get a bad rap because they affect our transportation. Your car can break down, batteries can die. If you're going on a trip, maybe your flight is canceled or delayed, all these travel hiccups. Mercury retrogrades are known for wonking up our technology. So your cell phones, your computers, your laptops not working. Since it rules over social media, you might post a video and it gets posted all in like weird format, or maybe you're having a hard time communicating and posting things via social media. And since it also rules our social networks, the people we communicate with, it can affect our relationships. So we have to be very cautious during a Mercury retrograde on how we communicate, how we speak, the language we use. And usually it's a period of going back over one of these topics. So now that we understand who Mercury is and what he rules over in our life, we have to understand what a Mercury retrograde actually is and what is its purpose. If you have your 2022 retrograde astrology journal, you're going to want to open it up to the Mercury retrograde page. You'll see September, and on the other side is the Mercury retrograde in Libra page. In here, I talk about who is life coach Mercury, what is a Mercury retrograde, and what happens when Mercury goes retrograde in the zodiac sign of Libra. So a little refresher on retrogrades. Mercury specifically is a fast-moving planet, and therefore his retrogrades only last 3 weeks. And in a retrograde, essentially what happens is a planet is in forward movement, rising in the sky from east to west. Just like the sun, every day we know it's going to come up on the eastern horizon and set on the western horizon. Planets do the same. However, retrogrades are an optical illusion because it appears from our position here on Earth with the tilt and the shift of the Earth, as if that planet that was rising from east to west has now retrograded, has appeared from our perspective to be moving backwards in the sky. That is what we call the retrograde period, where that planet goes over the same degree points in the sky that it has already crossed during its forward movement. So the retrograde period happens and the planet eventually stops at a certain degree, and then it has to get back on track. So in order to get back on track, it's going to have to cross that same part of the sky that it's already crossed the first time, then the retrograde, and now a third and final time. That is what we call the post-shadow phase. So we have to understand the cycle of the retrograde. So as the planet's moving forward, the first time it goes through that area of the sky, it's like us living our life. We're experiencing different things, we're communicating with different people, right? Let's use Mercury as the example. We're communicating with people, we're signing contracts, we're creating content, we're posting on social media, we're driving in our cars, we're using our laptops and our computers and our cell phones, and we're doing all the day-to-day things that we normally do. But when the planet goes back over the area of the sky it's already done, the retrograde, it's a time of us redoing, right? Retrogrades are times of reevaluate, reassess, recommit, reanalyze, regather information, anything with the word re. So during the retrograde, we're going to have to redo something. Go back to one of those conversations we had during the pre-shadow. Go back to something we posted on social media. Go back over a contract. Go back over, our computers and our data and our files. Like, go back into your cell phone and delete things, right? Redoing something that's already happened to us. So that's why retrogrades can be uncomfortable, because they shake things up. They create moments of reassessing things, and we're not moving forward. So Mercury retrogrades only last 3 weeks, and they're meant to teach us patience, to slow down. They happen 3 to 4 times a year for a reason, because we can't always keep running forward. New conversations, new projects, new travels, new this, new that. Take a pause, revamp, reanalyze, reassess, regather information, and then we can move forward after those 3 weeks. So the retrograde ends, right? The planet ends up in the part of the sky where it ends its retrograde. And now that third and final pass through, where it's already traveled once, it's retrograded and redone something again, that third time is like the beautiful moment in our lives where we get to do it over. We get to reapply the things we now learned. We get to restart the relationship, right? Maybe you had a communication issue and you had to go back and revisit the argument. And now you get to start fresh. You get an opportunity to implement the thing that you learned during the retrograde. So retrogrades are very learning lesson times. And we're going to talk specifically about this Mercury retrograde and the dates, because that's going to help you understand what days and what events in your life might have to be redone during this Mercury retrograde. So we'll get to that in just a moment. But first, I want to talk about Mercury starting in the zodiac sign of Libra and ending in the zodiac sign of Virgo. All the Mercury retrogrades in 2022 are happening where Mercury starts in an air sign and ends in an earth sign. So at the beginning of the year, we had a Mercury retrograde from Aquarius back into Capricorn. Then we had a Mercury retrograde from Gemini back into Taurus. And now we have the third and final full Mercury retrograde of 2022 from Libra back into Virgo. Now, air signs are about the mind. It's our ideas. It's what we're thinking. It's what we're trying to accomplish up here, right? The data, the information, the ideas before they become physical, tangible things in our reality. Earth signs. So this year, we're taking ideas, we're taking information, we're taking data, we're taking facts, we're taking concepts in our air, in our mind, and then Mercury communicating, processing them with people, right, social networks, through technology, through information transfer, in creating physical, tangible things, changes in our earthly world, right? Earth things. And so this Mercury retrograde is no different. But we have to understand that this Mercury retrograde is happening from Libra to Virgo. So what makes this one different is that Libra rules our relationships. And Mercury being the messenger, the communicator, there is going to be a lot of things that we're going to have to redo, reanalyze, restructure around the way that we communicate within relationships. So this is a very relationship focused Mercury retrograde. So in Libra, Mercury is going to want to find balance. It wants harmony, in justice, in peace. It wants what's fair for everyone, right? Tipping the scales back to neutral. It's a negotiator, right? So when Mercury's in Libra, it's trying to negotiate, communicate, finding the happy medium, making sure all parties feel like they have justice. And so there's this energy when Mercury moves into Libra of us going back and looking at our relationships and saying, what's fair, what's not? What's my boundaries, what's not? What's my needs, what's not? What's working for me, what's working for you? How can we find compromise? But then, in order to accomplish that, Mercury's gonna have to retrograde. So we're gonna have to go back over some things, contracts, conversations, revisiting things with the relationships in our life, business partnerships, friendships, collaborations, romantic, family, whomever in your life that you deal with during this pre-shadow period that we're going to talk about, you're going to have to go back and revisit it to have a better relationship. Now, Mercury will retrograde through Libra, bringing up the conversations, bringing up the people, bringing up the things that we're going to have to reanalyze. And then it moves into Virgo. And this is where it gets really, really interesting because Mercury in Virgo is very analytical, very detailed, very factual, wants to dig up all the things and it wants to organize them and it wants to be realistic. So in order, example, to better your communication with somebody, right? Libra, you're going to have to go and find the details. What works for me? What are my boundaries? I don't like it when you don't call me within 5 minutes, right? The details, getting clear about the details to have better communication, to have better relationships, right? So Mercury's the communicator, Virgo's the details and the facts, Libra's the relationships. Have better relationships by going back to the details, the facts, the practical, the reality, fixing, editing, correcting, organizing, deleting, so we can get back on track and have those better relationships by the end of this Mercury retrograde. Now, let's go into the dates and the exact information you're going to want to write down for this Mercury retrograde. All right, so you might want to get out a notepad for this because we are going to dive into the specifics. So I'm going to pull up the chart here from when Mercury started his pre-shadow phase. So this was the moment, the date, when Mercury was on his regular journey through the sky, but this will be the place that he ends up at when he retrogrades. So that is at 24 degrees of Virgo on August 20th. August 20th, Mercury was on his way. He crossed over 24 degrees of Virgo and he kept on moving. By August 25th, just 5 days later, he has already made it out of Virgo and is entering the zodiac sign of Libra. So you're going to want to pay attention, right, to this date. When Mercury leaves Virgo, he's thinking in very detailed ways. For most of August, you probably were thinking about the facts. What in your life needs to be corrected? Facts, you want to gather information. Maybe you've been working with opening a new bank account. Maybe you've been researching buying a new car and you're getting all the numbers. Maybe you're wanting to open a new business and you're gathering information on how to do that, right? It's just been a very mentally Mercury, organizing, detailed, factual month as Mercury moved through Virgo. But by August 25th, Mercury left Virgo and entered the zodiac sign of Libra, which Mercury is our mind, it's our communication, it's what we're thinking about, and Libra is all about our relationships. And it's wanting to create harmony, right? Libra is the scales, so it wants harmony in our relationships. So starting August 25th, our mind has probably been more on relationships. Who do I want to collaborate with? Who do I want to spend time with? How is my relationship going? Maybe I need to call people more. Maybe I need to call my friends more. Maybe I need to communicate more with my mother. Maybe me and my business partner need to have more regular meetings, right? So we've been thinking, Mercury, when he entered Libra about relationships and creating more balance and harmony in those relationships. And Mercury keeps moving right along from the 25th of August, where he's at 0 degrees of Libra. And by September 9th, he has made it to 8 degrees of Libra, where he stops and pauses and begins his retrograde. So he will backtrack all the way from September 9th to October 2nd, from 8 degrees of Libra back to that point that he was on August 20th to 24 degrees of Virgo. So this is where the retrograde begins. These are the dates that you want to keep in mind, that you're going to have to go back over things that came to you from August 20th till the retrograde began on September 9th. So during this retrograde, it kicks off on September 9th. Mercury's in Libra, so we're going back over relationships, renegotiating contracts, finding balance, finding harmony, going back to something someone said to you, figuring out how we're going to make more harmony, peace, and balance in relationships. And then on September 23rd, halfway through the Mercury retrograde, Mercury leaves Libra and goes back to Virgo, back to where he was originally, gathering Virgo information. Virgo's about the facts, the details, the practical, what makes sense, down to the minute. Right? So this is where we're like, all right, these are the people I want to keep in my life. I want to create stronger boundaries. I want to have more conversations. I want balance, right? Libra. But how am I going to do that? Going into Virgo details. I want to set aside 1 hour every week to call my mother. I want to have business meetings every Tuesday. I want to know this boundary. Or I want to have this boundary with someone. You have 1 hour to call me back. Whatever the details might be, to find that Libra balance, to have more harmony in your relationships. So once we get to September 23rd, that's when we're seeing the problem, realizing the relationships that we want to work on, and how we're going to work on them is in a Virgo detailed, practical way. So pay attention to that energy. Then from September 23rd, as Mercury continues his retrograde in Virgo, he will end and stop on October 2nd at 24 degrees of Virgo, where he was way back on August 2nd. And then he will stop and pause. And it's like, this is the moment where we're like, all right, everything that we've needed to edit, delete, reorganize, reanalyze, reassess, redo, recommit to, all the re's kind of end on this September 2nd part. We've gathered all the information we need. We communicated with everyone we needed to communicate with. We've assessed what we want to keep around. Virgo is all about organizing. Get rid of the things that don't work for you. Purge the things that don't work. And then we have to get back on track, right? We have to take all this information we gathered and get back on track. So on October 2nd, Mercury's retrograde is done, but the energy is not over, because he's gonna have to cross over the same part of the sky we can see here from the chart one last final time. And this is where we take the information and the things that we learned and implement them into our life to create permanent. From this point, from October 2nd all the way until October 17th is what we call the post-shadow phase, where the energy gets a redo, we get to redo the things that we learned. And then Mercury will be back on track, moving through the rest of the zodiac sign of Libra from 8 degrees where he retrograde on to 30, and then he will move into the zodiac sign of Scorpio by next month. So that is how Mercury's retrograde is going to play out for us. I want to touch base on just a few other planets, a few other life coaches that are assisting in this Mercury retrograde. And I usually don't do that in my retrograde videos, but this is actually very important to understand. So I'm going to pull up the chart one more time. And we can see here that when Mercury is in Virgo, that's going to be the blue line. When Mercury is in Virgo, he is opposite Neptune. Now, Neptune is the planet of illusion, of fantasy, right? And so when Mercury, like I mentioned earlier, is in Virgo, we're trying to be detailed. We're trying to be practical. We're trying to find the facts. We're trying to figure out how we can negotiate using the details. But he's opposite Neptune, which is challenging because Neptune lives in La La Land. Neptune is a dreamer. It is hard to find the facts when things just don't seem to make sense, right? And Neptune is retrograde. When Neptune is retrograde, things feel foggy. They feel hazy, like you're trying to find the information, right? let's say a relationship is challenged and you're trying to figure out how to improve your relationship. So you're going down YouTube and TikTok rabbit holes, looking up therapists, calling therapists, and like you're just not coming up with the answers. You're not figuring out the root cause, right? That is going to be the challenge during this Mercury retrograde, is that Mercury is going to pass over or be near the opposite energy of Neptune, literally effing stuff up, making it foggy, making it difficult for us to find the facts, to get the details. If you're trying to open a bank account, maybe you're having a hard time getting a hold of a banker and getting the numbers, or you're trying to buy a car and people aren't giving you the exact information you're looking for. So keep that in mind as we're dealing with the Virgo energy of this Mercury retrograde. Now, that was the blue line where Mercury's going to be opposite Neptune when he's in Virgo. But also, when Mercury is in Libra, he's going to be opposite Jupiter. So we can see that here with the red line. This is a challenge because Jupiter is all about idealistic. He wants what is ideal, right? I want that ideal relationship. I want that ideal car. I want the ideal relationship with my business partner, right? I want that like dreamy fairy tale relationship where everything is easy peasy. And Mercury is in Libra trying to be realistic. Mercury is very realistic. He is like, listen, we want a good relationship that works. And Jupiter opposite is like, but don't you want it to be even better? Don't you want it to be the best relationship? And so we can have this challenge as we're going through this Mercury retrograde and finding balance in our relationships. Be careful that you're not being too idealistic, trying to shoot for the moon and only being happy if you land on the moon, right? We have to be happy if we land amongst the stars, and we just learn a little bit during this Mercury retrograde. We're not going to fix all relationship issues in a 3-week Mercury retrograde, but it's going to highlight what's not working. We're going to get some more details and more facts. We're going to create more boundaries with more specific structure, and it's going to help us move on to that next journey. So just pay attention and understand that we're going to have some oppositions from Neptune, making things foggy and hazy when we're trying to get the facts, and we're going to have some opposition from Jupiter, who is being too idealistic. So pay attention to that energy, and I thought that that would be important to share with you guys for this Mercury retrograde. Now, one other thing I'm going to show you guys that is important to understand about this Mercury retrograde is the fact that Libra rules relationships. It's a very relationship-focused energy. And the planet that rules Libra, that rules relationships is, I know you know this, Venus. So we got to pay attention to what Venus is doing at this time. Venus is playing a part into bumping into Mercury during his retrograde. So what do I mean by that? We've already looked at this chart, but let's look at it one more time from a different angle. Back on August 20th, Mercury was at 24 degrees of Virgo. But where was Venus at that time? Venus was still in Leo, doing his own thing, taking over Leo, enjoying the Leo energy. And Mercury was over here doing his own thing in Virgo, moving into Libra, and then retrograding from Libra back into Virgo. So the second time Mercury entered Virgo, we're going to pull up that chart on September 23rd, and what is different about this chart and where Venus is. Now Venus is in Virgo. So the first time Mercury entered this space, he was alone. But the second time as he retrogrades back into Virgo, he's not alone anymore. Venus is there helping him. So this is why I said this Mercury retrograde is a huge relationship focus, not only because he's in Venus's territory of Libra, but when he leaves Libra, finally to go back into Virgo, Venus is waiting for him. Venus is like, all right, you were in Libra, you found out what you wanted, what relationships you wanted to keep, how we need to adjust, find balance, harmony. And when you get back to Virgo to get the details, to get the facts, I'll be here waiting for you to help you find the facts that are in support of the best relationship for you. Now, Venus doesn't just rule other relationships with other people. Venus also rules the relationship we have with ourselves, self-love, beauty, and harmony that we create for ourselves. So this is such a beautiful message. Venus shows up in support and is like, hey, when you retrograde, you come back, I'll be here waiting to help you find the best relationship that works for you, even if that relationship is the one that you have with yourself. So love this message. I hope you see it too in the charts that I pulled up and that it makes sense. Note these specific dates and know that by the end of this, a lot of the things that are challenging us at the beginning of this retrograde will get resolved in the area of relationships, communication, and all of that. Now, this is a Mercury retrograde, so please heed all of my advice that I put in the 2022 retrograde journal that I put for all Mercury retrogrades. You're gonna wanna do the traditional Mercury retrograde prep work. Making sure your technology is backed up, making sure that your cell phones have screen protectors and cases on them, making sure that if you're traveling during a Mercury retrograde, you have backup copies, you double check, your rental car information. You just want to double, triple check during a Mercury retrograde if you are traveling. You don't want to book any spontaneous trips during a Mercury retrograde, regardless of what zodiac sign Mercury is retrograding in, because again, Mercury retrogrades are times of patience, of redoing, reanalyzing, reassessing, going back to old projects, going back to old conversations. And sometimes that includes exes. So remember, all Mercury retrogrades can sometimes lead in old relationships and old people that you have unfinished business with. So don't be surprised if that happens to you. All the traditional Mercury retrograde things still apply, even though this one is specifically relationship focused. And so with that, I'm going to end this video with some specific do's and don'ts that you can apply during this Mercury retrograde period from September 9th to October 2nd. So let's start off with the do's. The number one thing I would do during this Mercury retrograde is to write down your boundaries when it comes to specific relationships in your life. What is working? What isn't working? Take some inventory. And the best time to actually do this is before the Mercury retrograde even begins. So when that energy comes and you're ready to redo something or renegotiate something or recommit to someone or recommunicate an old fight, you know what your boundaries are already. So write down your boundaries, what you'll stand for, what you won't, what your non-negotiables are. I think a lot of people don't have those very clear, and you might in your relationships, but maybe you don't in business partnerships, or maybe you don't when it comes to friends. Like, for instance, a boundary with friends would be like, if I visit you 3 times at your house, I expect you to come visit me at least once. Something like that you at least have a blueprint for, so you can renegotiate the spoken, unspoken, mental contract you have in your relationships. The second thing I would do during this Mercury retrograde is revamp your social media. Because remember, we're talking about relationships, and through social media, we build relationships with people. Whether that is you building relationships from a business point of view, friendships, the way that you perceive yourself in the world, right? People have relationships or energetic relationships with you through social media. So go back and revamp. Delete old posts, delete old pictures, delete old things that don't give off the image of who you are, right? Be very cautious, do an edit, do a delete, maybe start fresh. Maybe you're changing your branding. Maybe you're in a new relationship and you haven't cleared out all the old, right? Go back through and revamp your social media. This isn't a time to do new things. So don't start new projects. Don't come up with new highlights, new posts, new feeds, none of the new. If anything, take some old content you've already created and repurpose it. Show it in a different way. So I would definitely look at my social media, all forms, and do some editing. And the third thing I would do during this Mercury retrograde is reach out to old contacts, old friends, old family members, people in your life that maybe you've had a falling out with. And this is a great retrograde to revisit those relationships, to see if there's anything still there that you want to bring back into the future. Life takes us in different directions, and sometimes those relationships are meant to be in our life. We just got busy. Or maybe there was a miscommunication, right? Maybe you didn't see it from their perspective. Or maybe they didn't call you back for like 3 months, and you revisit the relationship by calling them and realize they were going through a very challenging situation. And you can renegotiate the relationship, start fresh when the retrograde ends. So it'd be really good to reconnect with people from the past, not necessarily exes unless you're ready for closure. This would be a very good closure time, but not again to start anything new. So maybe not a good time to socialize with new networks or to make new friends, but instead go back through your Rolodex of friends, acquaintances, business partners, etc., that you can revisit and recommunicate with. And that leads us into the don'ts. There's definitely some don'ts during this Mercury retrograde. And the first one being is you don't want to people please. Be very, very cautious. Libra can be that energy of people pleasing, just wanting to find harmony and balance for everyone involved, to the point that you're giving up your needs. You're giving up what you desire, what you want. So be very cautious of this energy. If you're prone to people pleasing and giving too much, analyze that at this time. Take a pause, take a step back. Remember, Mercury retrogrades are only 3 weeks long. If you disappear or focus on yourself for 3 weeks and someone gets mad, then you need to reevaluate this relationship even more. So be very careful and don't people please during this Mercury retrograde. The second thing I would not do during this Mercury retrograde is have any kind of spontaneous travel plans. Because again, we're not supposed to be doing new things. We're not supposed to be running forward. We're supposed to take a pause and focus on the people around us, improving the relationships around us. So booking something, distracting yourself, trying to run away from the relationships and the people and the communication and conversations you need to have is not going to serve you. So stay put. Fix what needs to be fixed, do the Virgo stuff of editing, deleting, organizing, cleaning, cleansing, and purging, and that's gonna serve you so much better than distracting and running away. And the third thing I would definitely not do during this Mercury retrograde is involve yourself in any form of gossip. I would not talk about anyone, anything, anywhere where someone else can hear it. Write it in your journal, talk to yourself, pray to God, but you want to be so careful during this Mercury retrograde that is heavily involved with relationships and communication of speaking too much and saying the wrong things. Now remember, during this Mercury retrograde, Mars is in Gemini, and Mars is the warrior, Mars is the fighter, Mars is anger, and Gemini is the part of the sky that's ruled by Mercury. So don't use your words as weapons. Don't engage in malicious conversation. Don't gossip, because I promise you, when this Mercury retrograde is over, it will bite you in the booty, and you don't want that. So be very, very cautious of what you say and who you say it to, especially if it is more of the malicious nature. So that is all I have for you. I hope that this video gave you some good information. I hope that it was clear and concise. I would love your feedback. So if you'll drop in the comments below, you can share with me where Mercury is in your chart during this retrograde. How's it playing out for you in your chart? Also, let me know what you liked about this video, if you're liking the new content format, or if there's anything else related to astrology you would like me to cover. And make sure you hit like and subscribe. The next video I'll be putting out will be on the Pisces full moon, which is a very dreamy, powerful full moon, so I'm excited to bring you that. And of course, as always, over on holistic.soul.sisters, our Instagram page, I do a What's in the Stars Saturday episode on Saturdays where I'm talking about the astro weather of the upcoming week. And that we're going to talk more about the details. So make sure you tune in for those weekly. And of course on TikTok, I've been sharing really fun form astro weather content and more stuff related specifically to relationships and astrology. So follow me over on TikTok at the Relational Astrologer. All right, everyone, happy Mercury retrograde. Be very cautious and make those relationships the best that you possibly can. And I will catch you in the next video.